Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk. We only have one practice left at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, and to join us to talk about everything that's gone on is friend of the program, Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus. Trev, what's going on, brother?
John, it's always good to be with you, man. I always love this time of year, not only because of events like this, but it means that we get to collab a little bit and get to go on your podcasts, on your shows, and everything, so it's great to catch up with you.
And, of course, we'll have you again at the Combine, and again, before we go, you can check out him and Connor Rogers doing their Stock Exchange podcast, talking everything draft. It is fantastic. Anything else I should plug for you?
I mean, the PFF stuff, the NFL Stock Exchange stuff, basically, if you turn on YouTube at this point, I'm convinced that you will somehow see me in one way or shape.
Not always wearing a bucket hat, though.
No, we had to break out the training camp bucket hat because it's not always sunny like it is today here in Mobile, which I'm very thankful for. But I had to make sure when I was looking at the weather, I had to pack something appropriate. So normally the bucket hat is just a training camp thing. You know, a lot of people who go to training camps are very used to making sure they got some UV protection there, and we had to do so today. So getting out on the field, training camp feel. Had to break out the bucket.
Fair-skinned folks like ourselves have to be careful.
That's very true.
That's very true.
And that's very true.
The funny thing is that about 2 hours when the second practice is over, it's going to drop about 20 degrees, and you're going to want to put a winter hat on because it's going to be so cold.
Don't remind me of that because we got to shoot a show after the sun goes down.
Really?
So, yeah.
Well, we're shooting this now. So, all right, Trev. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Luckily, the Giants aren't really in the business for a quarterback, and I think it's a good year not to be in the business for a quarterback. To me, Nussmeier probably looked like the best quarterback here.
Yeah.
But, look, I think Taylon Green is just fascinating. I wonder if he's going to go the Tyree Jackson around and eventually play tight end.
Right.
But, man, size, the ball comes out of his hand. You saw him on a couple scrambles. He's going to run in the 4.5s.
Yeah.
If he can figure things out, man, he is very talented.
Yeah, and Felipe Franks kind of did the same thing, right? Yep. He started at quarterback, moves over to tight end, and I kind of think that that's the long-term projection for him because, I mean, he's got a big arm to him. He's a very physically and athletically gifted kid, but he just wasn't super consistent as a quarterback the way that you want to, and especially going to the NFL level, the demand for ball placement goes up so much. And so I think that he will play in the NFL. I just wonder if it's going to be a little bit more of like a wide receiver, tight end, offensive weapon type of a spot. But the other quarterback outside of Nussmeier that you mentioned, Sawyer Robertson, at least today, actually looked pretty good. He's got a baseball background to him. I'm not really worried about does he have the arm strength at the NFL level.
Had a couple of runs in this practice.
And I mean he's got some scoot to him, and so he is one of the guys that at least I'm coming away from this week saying like, okay, still intrigued a little bit about him and maybe what his NFL potential.
Do you think Nuss can get himself into day 2 by the time this draft process is over? He gets in meetings with NFL coaches and the brain starts showing off and everything?
100%, especially because, Dad's a long-time football coach, whether it's college or the NFL. I think when it's all said and done, Nussmeier is going to be a top 100 pick. I just do think that it's going to be closer towards like that third-round range than
I'm with you.
Else.
I agree. Running backs, no one has really jumped out to me that's here, Trev, to be honest with you. And then again, I always say running back to me is one of the toughest positions to watch in practice because their job is to break tackles and nobody's tackling.
Correct.
So how are you supposed to see how good these running backs are?
Yeah.
The one guy that jumped out to me, and then you can take yours, I think Mike Washington from Arkansas has been really, really impressive. He's 228 pounds. He was first on the leaderboard in terms of speed at running back, second on the whole roster.
Right.
So size, speed, physicality, he checks those boxes for me.
No, and I agree with you completely. Basically, until you get to the game, it's hard to stand out as a running back. But I would also point out Mike Washington is like, if there's a quote-unquote riser from this group, I feel like he's one because he checks so much of the physical boxes, like you mentioned. When you get him in between the tackles, watching his tape from Arkansas, he's got a little bit better of footwork than you'd probably expect for a guy who's carrying as much weight and the size that he has. And so that's big-time pluses for him. The NFL's going to love it. I like Seth McGowan as well from Kentucky. I think obviously he's not able to showcase a ton this week, but he is somebody who, my goodness, he was a 4-star when he was at Oklahoma, actually got on the field very early on, ended up getting charged of a felony and ended up spending a little bit of time in jail after that, gets kicked off of the Oklahoma team, and then just for the last 4 years, it's been a journey for him as a player and a person because, I've listened to him talk and kind of paraphrasing it here. He's like, he was obviously like doing the wrong stuff in with the wrong people, and he was like, I thought football was taken away from me forever. And you see just this renewed passion and willingness to be the absolute best. And the people that I talked to at Kentucky, they rave about him as well. And so I love the fact that he's here. He can't show a ton in the practices, but to at least get to talk to these teams, because the more that I've heard about him, the more that I love, just his character and where he is in life, and it's really cool. That's sort of an underrated part of this event too, is really getting in front of NFL teams in person for the first time. And so he's somebody that I liked his tape at Kentucky as well, and so he's somebody that I'd shout out to.
We lost some wide receivers from this game. Elijah Sherratt was going to be here again. Indiana goes long; he doesn't come.
Right.
Lost Casey Concepcion from this game, someone that's supposed to be here, but still some guys that are intriguing, and it's a good mix, Trev, of some big, bulky skyscrapers. Malachi Fields had that great catch on day 2.
Yep.
Ted Hurst, I think, has bounced. And then you have some of these young guys, rather smaller guys, that I think have also done pretty well. Corey Coleman. Not Corey Coleman. Sorry.
Josh Cameron. Is that who you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about Missouri. Where is he? There
Kevin
we go.
Coleman.
Yes,
Coleman
thank you.
Jr. Yes.
I knew it was a Coleman. It was one of the Colemans.
Yes.
I think he's been pretty good. He's gotten open a lot today. And then the John Carroll kid, Tyron Montgomery, man, he had a couple drops today in practice, but he gets open and he goes up and gets the ball.
Dude, I've loved watching
He's been
him
great
over the last couple of days. He has been so great to watch. And then, he stands out. And look, he's coming from John Carroll. It's a D3 university. So I'm saying to myself, like, okay, like, what's this kid going to be like? Are they just kind of giving this guy a flyer? They're getting him an opportunity in NFL team to play in front of NFL teams. He's not really going to do anything. After that first practice, I was like, okay, time to do some extra research on this guy, because athletically he looks like he belongs. And it's crazy story where, he was a standout basketball player, walked on at LSU, had some family problems, so he had to, leave LSU and go back home. And then his brother, who played collegiate football as well, was like, dude, you should really try this football thing.
He never played a snap of high school football.
Never played a snap of high school football. He had to go play flag football just to get tape to send to coaches. Somehow ends up at Nicholls State, plays a year there, and then he's at John Carroll. Now he's here at the Senior Bowl. I can't wait to go actually find some John Carroll tape and really get to watch him. And then also I can't wait to see him in Indianapolis as well, because I guarantee after he played
he doesn't have the invite yet. I asked him this morning.
Okay, well, after he played this week, they better remedy that.
I agree.
They better get on that, because you got it. You look at how much this guy wins with juice and short area explosiveness and going up and get it above the rim. Like I've been so impressed with him, and he better get that combine invite.
The question I've been asking everybody, who will be the first wide receiver taken that's at this game, and what round will he be taken?
I wonder if it's Fields at this point.
That's been the consensus answer that I've got.
I think it is going to be Fields. And going into this,
Malachi Fields, Notre Dame, by the way, big 6'4" wide receiver.
Yes, and he's a contested catch guy most of the time, but then he'll give you some extra juice as a vertical route runner, and you feel pretty good about just the overall ceiling that he has.
You think third round?
At this point, I think third round. Yeah, I think that there's maybe even a chance like back end of the second.
Okay.
I think that'd be, it just depends on this class.
Because there isn't a lot of production there. You look at his numbers, there's not a lot of production.
And there's not, but like, I know you study so many of these prospects in the class, like, this class is going to be a mixed bag.
No, it is.
The big boards for teams are going to be so different team to team. There's so much less consensus about the talent in this class that I wonder if a team could really talk themselves into him at the back of the second round. But to play it safe, I would say third round for him.
Huddle up, get in here. If you're lined up here, you got to go over the middle with it to score.
Right. How do we make that happen?
I don't know, but Citizens does.
Make sense of your money with Citizens, official bank of Eli Manning.
Teams might get driven by need in this draft, which could get dangerous depending on what you end up doing.
It always is if you get pigeonholed for needs.
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
absolutely does. All right, let's go to tight end. And again, a good mix, right? You got a bunch of combo wide tight ends here that can play in line. You got some, more F spread tight ends like the Josh Cuevas's of the world, Koziel, guys like that. But then you have these inline guys that have also caught the ball pretty well this week.
Yeah, the Texas A&M kid whose last name is like Borker.
It is the greatest tight end name I've ever seen. Nate Bork-Couture.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
He has been awesome this week. Really strong hands. More of a contested catch guy, but again, they just never really threw him the football. He never got involved in the offense. He was at Nebraska.
He's a blocker too, man.
TCU.
Yeah.
He brings the power that you want. He brings the blocking that you want, and then he's got the strong hands as well. So he's been very impressive. Koziel, like you mentioned, his name, Tanner Koziel, the tight end from Houston. He had a rep where he was in the corner of the end zone, and he climbed the ladder exactly the way that you would want a 6'6", 6'7" type of a tight end to do. And so he has been fun to watch as well. I think that Justin Joly the tight end from NC State, has been getting open a little bit over the middle. I would have liked to see more big plays from him this week. I thought we'd see a little bit more big plays, but he's at least been consistent as a wide receiver when they've looked his way. But, yeah, those are a handful. The Texas A&M kid I've been very impressed with this week.
Yeah, he had that great catch in that competition portion of practice. After the second day, he reached over the defender on that seam route with his hands and snatched that ball. It was a great play. All right, let's go to the offensive line. To me, the guy that stunned out the most to me is Max Ionashore out of Arizona State. Because that defensive front, they have Derek Moore, who's been great, Zion Young, who's been great, Gabe Yakus, who's been great, and they have killed everyone. There's only one guy that's been able to block those guys, and it's Ionashore.
Yeah. He is a really good athlete. I remember watching him before the season began in summer scouting, and I was like, okay, not a finished product. I could see it, though. And a lot of people have kind of been getting on the train of him and saying, like, okay, this guy could be a top 100 pick. Now I'm hearing people say top 75. Maybe you take an athletic offensive tackle like this in the top 50. So his stock is absolutely rising. And I think overall, I agree with you. He has been the best tackle here. When it comes to just overall offensive linemen, though, I can't tell you how impressed I have been with Sam Hecht, the center from Kansas State. This is a center class that is completely up in the air, right? Connor Lew from Auburn was getting a lot of top 50 hype going into the season, and then he tears his ACL. Jake Slaughter from Florida's at this event as well. Like, do you think of him as maybe the first tight end off the board somewhere on day 2?
Lemieux's playing center for the first time here. Willis is going to play center for the first time here.
Dude,
it's all up in the air.
But Hecht this week, the grip strength, the feet, the core strength, his anchor ability, no matter who he went up against all week long, power, finesse, quick hands moves, bull rush moves, whatever it was, he was ready for it. He started the last 25 games of his collegiate career for Kansas State, so he's got the experience to him. I went back and I looked up his PFF grades, really solid overall PFF grades as well, and I could not have been more impressed with him here this week. So I wonder if we get to a point where we might be talking about him as the best center in this class.
Wow,
and nobody would have said that going into this event.
I like it.
I wonder, because he was so damn consistent this week. I wonder if we get to that point and we're talking about him like that.
I'll throw some love to Demetrius Crownover. He's done a nice job out of Texas A&M at tackle. And then I think just the two Iowa offensive linemen, Jennings Dunker and Bo Stevens, just so powerful in the run game. And, Iowa linemen are going to know what they're doing. I don't think Dunker's going to be able to stay out of tackle. I'm not sure he has the movement to go forward, but he's definitely powerful enough to play guard. So I don't think that's going to be an issue for him at all.
I've always thought he was a guard. I think we got to fix his footwork a little bit and his stance, because right now he's a little slow and not nearly as powerful as he could be getting out of his stance on that first step. So if you fix that, I think you got a really good offensive lineman. And Bo Stevens, he had one of my favorite reps this week where, God, I cannot remember who he was going up against, but he was going up against somebody on a one-on-one rep. And he loses the rep.
Darryl Jackson put him on his rear end.
Yes,
yep.
And he loses the rep. And he goes and he picks up the ball. He puts the ball on the ground, and he says, no.
We're going
again. Run it again.
Yep.
And he got the better of him.
Yeah, and Jackson tried the same move, and he pulled him down because Jackson leaned too much forward.
That's what this event's all about. Yeah, I love that.
I love it too. I'm with you. Giants Huddle Podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From game day celebrations to your everyday financial needs, Giant fans get the most out of every moment with Citizens. Go learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants. All right, let's go to the defense here. And this is where the stars are.
I agree.
I guess we'll start at defensive tackle. The stars are at edge, but there are some good defensive tackles here as well. Zane Durant. I know he's the smaller defensive tackle here, but, man, he gets upfield, and I thought he's actually flashed some power with his hands, too, over the course of the week.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see from him. I mean, when I was watching one of the individual drills, actually, over in the corner of the end zone here, this was yesterday. They were going through a drill where you needed to get low, you needed to chop your feet through the bags that were on the pads that were on the ground, and then you needed to flip your hips, give a club move to the bag and whatever. But the whole point of the drill was to stay low, to stay loaded, be able to turn and control your body. And for almost everybody that was running this drill, the coaches were like, get down, get your butt down. You're too upright. And when Zane ran it, all you heard was good, Zane, good. And
natural leverage is a wonderful thing, Trevor.
And that is what, especially in the trenches, obviously. Yep. And so that's what he needs to do really well. And I thought he had his strongest practice on Wednesday as well, because that drill and that mindset, I think, was just a reminder and kind of helped him set the tone for what he needs to do. So I think he has been good. Lee Hunter's been fantastic from Texas Tech as well. I think Caleb Banks had a slow day one, really nice day two.
He's been flashing. He's been flashing.
Yes, and somebody who didn't play a ton this year because he had the foot injury. And so it was just good to see him out here playing football just because he had that injury this year. And, man, I thought he was a second-rounder if he would have gone into last year's draft. And then he comes back, I think, wants to be a first-rounder. But we just didn't see a lot of him because of that injury.
But in this draft, he might just be.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree.
He might just be.
Even with the foot injury, yeah.
If you want to know how to manage 2 minutes of crunch time football, I'm your man. But if you're wondering about a long-term financial plan, you should talk to Citizens. Hey, I can also talk lawn care.
I'd like to learn about a mowing routine.
Yes, I knew I could help.
Make sense of your money with Citizens.
No, I'm with you. All right, let's go to the edge spot, man. And I don't remember the last time we had so many big edges, Trevor, in a class, whether it's TJ Parker, who I think has done pretty well this week, Zion Young, who's done well this week.
Yeah.
I know the Moore kid from Michigan is not the biggest kid, but he plays big. Just a very, if you want a pocket crusher on the edge, this is the draft class for you.
No, I agree with you completely. It's a lot of guys who you're not going to be worried about from a power perspective, and TJ Parker is one of those guys, like you mentioned. I think Zion Young, certainly. I mean, like that's his MO, as somebody who's over 260 pounds, 6'5". I mean, that's how he won when he was at Missouri. He was incredibly competitive, likes to run his mouth in a great way, by the way. I love when defensive players like to do that, and he backs it up. I think he can get low in his stance, very loaded, great explosiveness, good first step acceleration. Now, is he the best overall athlete when it comes to running up the arc and attacking on the outside shoulder? No, not the best, but he'll run through your face if you don't have a good anchor for him. And I think the same thing with TJ Parker. TJ Parker, we're sitting here, he's like, is he worthy of being a first rounder? What kind of an NFL player are we talking about here? And from snap one that I saw him in the one-on-one drills on Tuesday, it just, you look at him and you go, yeah, top 50, no question.
He gets the long arm
no question.
on the, collar of the offensive lineman. He just pushes it back every time.
No question. So, I mean, like him, you mentioned, Derek Moore. I thought that Romello Height has looked good. Nadeem Tucker from Western Michigan has looked good as a speed rusher as well. Max Llewellyn from Iowa was really flashing.
Danny Dennis-Sutton is big on the edge too. He's powerful. He doesn't have a lot of variety of pass rush moves, but he's a strong edge.
And so, just this is the deepest group here in Mobile, and that is indicative of what the class is overall.
Just imagine if Bailey and Bain showed up, the original guys that committed,
Messidor,
right?
And
Messidor too, you're right.
Messidor had at one point committed to this event as well.
And look, I think Height's the exception, right? He's the smaller, twitchy guy, right?
Yes.
He's the guy that's going to bend the edge, and he does have a burst, man. He can attack that edge really well.
Yeah, he does. I'm a little bit worried about him from an overall power perspective.
I agree.
But to his credit, and what I think he did a really great job of this year as opposed to last year when he was really able to blow up as a pass rusher this past season with Texas Tech, is I think he mainly wanted to just win as a speed rusher, meaning attacking the outside shoulder when he was at Georgia Tech and throughout his career. And I think he got to a point where, okay, well, if I didn't get a really good jump on my first step, or if this offensive tackle just had some really good length, a lot of times they could still push me if I was going to the outside shoulder. I could get a good jump, but they could still handle me. What he's doing this year is he's become better at selling that outside move and then cutting inside and, having a great two-handed swipe to be like, okay, now I'm moving inside. Now I'm crossing your body. Now I'm swiping your hands away as well. So really good inside move specialist Romello Height has become as well.
And he knows. I interviewed him on Tuesday, and I asked him, what he wants to show scouts this week. And the first thing he said was setting the edge. So he knows he has to prove to these NFL teams that he's going to be a better run stopper. So we'll see if he can do that throughout the draft process. Good linebacker class, and I think that's reflected here too, man.
I agree.
Kyle Lewis might have had the best practice of any single player at any position just before we started this.
Yeah.
I don't know with his size what an NFL team's going to do with him, but he's a good football player.
He is a really good football player, and you've seen that over his tape at Pitt for the last couple of years. I remember him watching him again during the summer, like summer scouting, and I was like, okay, I like you a lot. I just don't think you're very big. And so linebacker has just become a very interesting position where
5'11", 224, by the way.
If you look at which is really small, but you look at the NFL and there's sort of like a size threshold that you have to have, but we're getting so much faster and so much lighter everywhere that like linebacker is one of those positions that you don't have to be 6'4", 250 anymore. You don't. Now, it's nice when you have guys like that, but you just don't have to. So him, Bryce Betcher from Oregon, I thought had a great week.
He's not big, by the way, but he's tough at the line of scrimmage, Betcher. He lays the hammer on people.
So him, Sorey from Arkansas, Heineke from Oklahoma, these dudes were bats out of hell going towards the line of scrimmage.
I agree.
And then Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech as well. He was one of the best in all of college football at forcing turnovers, interceptions, forced fumbles, and guess what? Yesterday, he had a forced fumble and an interception in the same practice. So surprise, surprise there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's jump over to the defensive backs. Some people really like the depth of defensive back class. I'm not as high as other people are. I'm curious what you think of the group that's here. You know, Colton Hood is supposed to be the first one drafted. He hasn't impressed me all that much. He's been fine.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Chris Johnson, I think, has had a pretty good 2 days. Who are some of the corners that have jumped out to you?
It has not been a big standout week for the corners. I do agree with you. I think Thaddeus Dixon from North Carolina, who is one of my sort of underrated players in this class, has gotten better as the event has gone on.
He had a pick today.
He did have a pick today. You know, Colton Hood, you're right, a little bit of an up and down week. Chris Johnson, I worry about him because as an off-zone coverage corner, I think he's great. We have him as with an elite coverage grade when he is in those zone coverage assignments. But when you go into man coverage, it's different for him, and I think that you see that here, especially in the red zone period where there's not a lot of zone going on.
Yeah.
It's, hey, you got to man these guys up. We don't have a lot of space to work with, and you see guys getting behind him a little bit too easy. He's just not nearly as confident in that regard, and so I think he's a good corner, but he's a little bit scheme dependent in my opinion. At the safety level, though, I think that Bud Clark has had a really good week, the safety out of TCU.
He had a pick today, too.
He did. He had a pick today. He had a really nice pass breakup yesterday. I saw him have another pass breakup when he was in the end zone in the red zone drill, and he is somebody who is playing incredibly confidently. He's again, running his mouth in a great way as well, which I want my defensive backs to do, and he's got the size to be able to match a lot of wide receivers and tight ends specifically as a slot defender where he has played a good amount of his snaps at TCU over the last couple of years, and so I've been impressed with him as well.
Trev, good stuff, man. Always
Thanks,
a pleasure. All right, we're going to go enjoy the 2005 playlist that they have just saved, and they've been playing on nonstop for the past 3 days here. It's my college years. It's all over again. It's fantastic. Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus. I'm John Schmeelk. That's a Giants Huddle podcast brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. We'll see you next time.